Hello, and welcome back to Crush It TV episode 16. So today's motto officially is crazy hair, don't care. I've been saying for half an hour that I need to go and do the live stream, but I first of all have to sort out my hair and paint my face and do all of these things. And then I was like, you know what, actually it's pouring rain outside and I'm not going to waste my time doing that because I'm going to be doing the nursery run in a minute and I'm going to get sopping wet anyways. So you get to enjoy crazy hair today. So today I want to talk about something that has come up a lot over the last few weeks with my clients, and I want to talk about what you need to do when you want to build a team that has team members that would rather go down with the sinking ship than leave you stranded, basically. I'll be having quite a few episodes come up now where we're going to be talking about remote teams because I am really passionate about the right people working together on the right things. This has been something that's been influencing me throughout my time at work, based on my experiences that I had with my team, some of which I'm going to share with you in a minute. I'm planning, this is a bit scary to say that, because I'm saying it out loud, it has to happen now. I'm planning a live workshop probably in March in London, and it's going to be to do all around remote, it's going to be to do with remote teams basically. So this is something I want to dive much deeper in sort of over the next few weeks. So yeah, let's dive into how can you create a team that actually is going to stick with you no matter what, and is not influenced by the fact that they're remote. They're just, they're there for you, standing by your side. So if you've ever worked in corporate or whatever you want to call it, just had a normal job, then you basically know all about the kind of traditional recruitment processes, right? So there's going to be job descriptions, there's going to be first round of interviews, there's going to be set interview questions. You have to make sure you pay attention to all the laws around equality and all that good stuff. And when we start our own business, the thing that we're really tempted to do is just take these things that we're used to from back in the olden days when we were at our job and apply them to our business because it's just what's done, right? Everyone recruits in the same way. The thing is, what I found over the past 2.5 years of running my own business, that actually just blindly taking these processes and applying them to your business isn't actually helpful when you're recruiting remote contractors into your business, because contractors are not employees, they are fellow business owners. So to me, you need to treat contractors completely different to employees in a in a normal physical local business. So today I'm going to share with you what I do and what I've kind of worked out over the past couple of years that's really helped me to find team members that are in it for the long game. A couple of times I'm going to say that there's something that I'm not going to go into today just because I don't want these videos to get terribly long and people kind of falling asleep along the side. So I want you to have something just simply actionable that you can go and apply to your business. So I'll let you know if I have a separate video planned on something, and then we'll dive deeper into that during kind of that live session. So how do you know if this video is for you? Option one is you might have a small team already, but you have a lot of churn. You might have kind of communication that is stuck, things not getting done. Or you don't have a team yet, but you are going to need one shortly and you really want to be prepared, making sure that you have all of your systems in place on how you're going to be finding the team members, onboarding them, and all that good stuff. So this is going to be relevant for both groups. So why do I care about teams? It's been my responsibility to look after people in the workplace because that's what I see us as leaders. We look after the people that, help us to do our job. We look after them in the workplace, and I've been doing that for a good few years now. And I gained a lot of experience over time, but then I realized that when I started to run my own business and I had to build my own team, that not everything that worked in the workplace could super easily be applied in an online business. So the first time I had to take the responsibility for other people was back when I was still in nursery and I was kind of given my first classroom to run. So it was a fairly small team. There was only 4 other people. So how many things could go wrong? Well, the problem was that I'd sort of joined this team 2 weeks late because I had a longer notice period in my previous place and the nursery had already opened and the girls were already in there. And well, none of them got along. So they were 4 people. Each and every single one of them is different as night and day. So there was a lot of... there were a lot of issues. Some of them were culturally related. Some of them were age related and attitude related, but it wasn't nice in any case. So I basically had 4 people who agreed on nothing, wouldn't work on anything together, couldn't ask each other for help, and it was complete chaos. So that took some time to sort of build up, and there were a few things that I realized at that time that worked super well. Then when I became a manager, and I had about maybe 10, 15 people max to look after, it was exactly the same problem, just on a bigger scale across multiple smaller teams. And I figured that what brings people together is having things that connects them to each other. And when you're in a physical workplace, it's super easy to say, hey everyone, I'm organizing a night out for the whole team, so on Friday, why don't we all go out? And yeah, you're going to have a couple of people that won't show up, but the rest is going to go out together, and it's going to really help, bond people beyond just the workplace, because we realize that we're all normal humans. We have varying opinions at work, but when we go out, we're actually all very similar, and people get a chance to let their hair down. Now, the thing is, these are not the things that you can super easily do if you have a remote team. So in our team, our clients are spread all around the world, and kind of so are our team members, which makes life a little bit difficult at times. But you can still work on the underlying principle, which is connection. Okay? So I want to go into some of the problems that you might have in your team that are basically symptoms of the underlying big cause. So you might find that you have work just never delivered on time. You have a complete lack of communication. You have team members that as soon as they run into difficulties, whether it's in their personal lives, with their schedule, as soon as there's any kind of problem, they drop you immediately. So you have a pretty high churn rate when it comes to your VAs and other people that come and work with you. Or the quality of the work that's submitted is like on a steady kind of downhill pathway. A lot of these are actually traced back to communication. And when you then look even deeper as to why those communication issues present, the number one reason I usually see is a lack of connection. So when you build a team, the biggest tip I can give you is to focus on the same thing that I keep telling about their clients. Focus on relationships over transactions. So if you focus on building a personal relationship with each and every single person on your team, you are going to end up creating team members that literally have a do or die attitude as far as your business goes. If you keep extremely corporate, extremely, distant, transactional, managerial, like manager, that's a really bad role to take on, because at the end of the day, you want to be leading people, and you want people to volunteer to become your followers and stand by your side. You don't want to force people and pull them along by the neck, basically. And that's what managing and corporate language and task-based communication actually does to your team. So you will find that if you look at your clients that you have the best relationship with in your business, you will find that those are the ones that you actually have a genuine personal connection with, a personal interest in that individual. And when you don't pay that respect to your team members, they're not going to pay that respect to you. They don't feel guilty for leaving you in the lurch. They don't feel guilty for delivering work late. They don't feel guilty for shitty quality work. Never. Why? Because they know that you don't have a personal interest in them, and maybe they're struggling right now, so what's the point? And then when it gets really difficult, they just turn around and go, I don't care, I'm going to leave, I'm going to find somebody else that actually cares about my work. So tip number 1 for building your team is to not take your corporate experience one-to-one into your online business. Okay, it's very formal, it's influenced by legal requirements. You are not looking for an employee that shows up to work at the same time every single day. You are looking for a contractor, a fellow business owner, a partner in your business that brings expertise that you can do with on your team. If you approach team members from a top-down kind of perspective, they're never going to feel valued. Whereas if you approach them as equals, even if you're training, even if that's a junior person you're taking on, it doesn't matter. You are still both humans, and you're still both equal. You're still both business owners. And that is how you have to treat people to get that same respect in return. So you get people to follow you by caring and by leading and by showing the way. and not by micromanaging each and every single aspect of their life. The other downside is that you've likely experienced some pretty bad leadership in your previous jobs, because most of the times I find that managers get promoted to a certain point and then they're actually no longer suitable for the job. So the best thing they could do is take one step down and they'd be absolutely amazing at that role. But people don't take steps down in their workplace ever. So they just tend to be promoted until they're the manager, and then they're terrible, and yeah, you're just stuck. And this is the kind of leadership that you're experiencing, and that is not what you want to bring to your business, and that's not what you want to feed back to your team members. As an example, I had one manager who's actually a close friend of mine, and don't get me wrong, I appreciate her to no end. But one of the things she said to me was that after I'd been invited to go to leaving drinks for one of the girls that I worked with that I never actually got along with, I went out. I decided to go out anyways, although half the people, didn't like my face whatsoever. I decided to go out anyways. We ended up going to her house, drinks, music, talking, fun. And I left there that night thinking this was the best decision I could have ever made. Although these people hated my guts when I turned up, but by the time I left, I actually had a closer relationship, with that person. I had met that person's mum. We've been talking. We actually all get along really, really, really well. And that immediately improved the relationships within our team in the workplace. However, my manager actually said to me that it is totally inappropriate as, a senior member of staff in any kind of job to have that close of a relationship with your team members, to go out with them and to have fun with them. Like, you must always be professional. You must always maintain your distance. And actually, that's probably the worst piece of advice I ever got as far as leadership goes. Whenever you maintain the distance, you maintain coldness, you maintain negativity, and that's not going to help you ever to achieve that close level of connection that you need to know that people are standing by your side, because they don't know that you've got their back, so why should they have yours? Tip number 2 might sound like completely counterintuitive, but I actually completely stopped interviewing people in my business. This is the one thing that I have to say we don't have the time to go into in detail today, so that might be next Friday's live session. But when I originally started, finding team members for us, I did the same thing as everyone else does. As you do in your job, you write the job description, you put it out there, you literally ask people to send you their CV, but they're business owners, they're contractors, like, they don't have CVs, like, they shouldn't have CVs. So you do everything in the same way, and then you have the interview, and you write out the questions, and you ask everyone the same questions, and at the end of the interview, you know nothing about them, you know nothing about them personally. All you know is that they've told you everything that you want to hear, and then they actually get to work. Like, you pick somebody, they get to work, and they can't do anything they said they can do, they don't show up on time, and you have all these problems, and they sounded like the perfect person in the interview. So interviews are hard work for me, and particularly when I had the baby. I decided that taking an hour to an hour and a half out of my time to ask people questions, to then find out the following week that they've lied about almost every single thing, there's absolutely no point to doing that. So when somebody gets in touch now, I literally have I step back immediately from the kind of work relationship, and I take the relationship to a personal level. And then maybe at the end of that conversation, I might have a new friend, or I might have somebody to work on my team, or I might have somebody to collaborate with, but there's no guarantee of the outcome. So when I get a message from somebody that says, hey, I'm looking for someone, like, I'm looking to join your team, I'm really interested in working with you, I'm like, cool, so who are you? What do you do? Where do you live? Tell me something about you. And I bring that conversation back down to the personal level immediately, because I want to know who they are, what motivates them, and based on what they tell me and what their goals are in life, I make a decision on whether they're suitable to come and work on my team. So I had people get in touch that are super interested in social media, and my focus has always been tech. We've never maintained social media channels for people, or we do it the odd time, but it's not our main focus. And they wanted to become a social media manager and then run an agency. So I said to them, it's like, I really personally like you, and please let's, stay in touch. But for right now, I don't think you joining my team makes any sense, because this isn't in line with your personal goals. And of course, I made that decision from the business's perspective, because that person would join my team, be there for 3 months, get paid, and then leave once they've got the better gig that actually gets them to their goal. But in that moment, I just make that decision from that perspective. from the perspective of that person, if that makes sense. Because I just feel like they'd be totally wasting their time coming to join my team when we don't do any of what their actual goal is. Like, to me, there's absolutely no point. So I completely stopped interviewing and I scaled back to like the minimum communication I need to have with people to establish whether we have a good connection. If you are talking to a complete stranger and you know how to, have a simple conversation and keep it going, and within about 5 minutes, you've run out of polite things to say to somebody, or you ask them questions and you get one-word answers back, like, when is your birthday? May. Oh, okay. Where do you live? Here. And they can't maintain a conversation, and you feel really awkward already in the beginning stages of building a personal relationship. You haven't even talked about work yet. I think that person is not ideally suited to be working on your team because you've already run out of juice. And like that juice of like working together, it's got to keep you going for months and years, not for 5 minutes. So after I've had the basic conversation with people, my next thing that I do is I actually send people a contract, onboard them onto my team immediately. I make it very clear that the first couple of weeks we're just trying them out, seeing how it goes. There's no guarantee that will continue. And I actually try people out at the normal workload. What I see done a lot is that people give somebody like one trial task. And the problem with that for me is that they do the one trial task and they do it really well. And they might have taken 4 hours to do it, but they tell you, oh yeah, it only took me an hour. And then when you give them 20 tasks of the same nature, what happens is they get completely overwhelmed because they're not actually used to this workload. They have to learn a lot of new tools. They have to learn your systems, systems in online business in general. And as soon as you give them the normal workload, they're completely overwhelmed. And you can't find this out by interviewing. You can't find this out by asking questions. The only way you're going to find that is by actually giving them the work to do and then realizing, oh, shoot, like they actually are completely stressing, or they actually don't learn when you explain something, or they keep asking the same questions even 2 weeks down the line, which shows me that they're really struggling with comprehension. So these things you don't know unless you're actually giving them the full workload as you would expect them to handle it. Of course, when you're training somebody, you might have to go slower in that process, but you should still try and scale up pretty quickly and then keep track of how they're doing. And my last tip is to actually try and connect with each and every single one of your team members on a personal level every day. Or if someone's only supporting you for like 5-10 hours a month, then if you don't have a conversation with them every day, make sure that every time you do have a conversation with them, the first thing that you talk to them about is not work. So if you know they have a child, drop them a message and say, hi, so-and-so, how's your little one doing? Are they any better? Were they ill 2 weeks ago? Like, show interest in them. Like you would with a friend. If you met a friend that you hadn't seen for 2 weeks, you would say, hi, how's your baby girl? She was poorly last time I saw you. Why are we not giving that same respect to our team members that we give to our family, our friends, and our clients? To me, this is like a no-brainer. And I know people will automatically say, hey, I'm too busy to do that. They're my employee. I don't have time to ask everybody how they're doing. Do you know how busy I am? I do. I'm busy in the same way. But to be honest, 5 minutes well spent every single day checking in with the team for no apparent reason, or whenever I have to talk to them, asking them a personal question first. Guess what? Those 5 minutes might cost me, I don't know, a couple of hours a month. But if I have to look for 3 new team members every 3 to 4 months, that's going to cost me significantly more time, more stress, and it's going to cost me actual money because I have to advertise for people and I have to do all sorts of stuff. I might have to hire someone to cover, and all of that costs me significantly more money than making this really, really, really small investment into the people that you have in front of you. So I'll run through those tips again for you. Number 1, don't take your corporate experience and translate it straight into the business. That formal approach, top down, does not work. Treat your team members as your equals. They're your partners in business. You are an expert in what you do. They're an expert in what they do. And even if you're training them, they are committing their time to you, so treat them with respect. Don't waste your time doing super, super lengthy interviews. Look for a personal connection instead. Then the next tip was to try people out as quickly as you can at the normal workload that you would expect them to handle. So sometimes you have to hire and fire quickly. So you want to figure out within a week or 2 that they're not going to work on your team long term. And then the last thing is, try and connect with your team members each and every day, or if they're just working a few hours and you don't want to bother them, then every time you do have to connect with them, make sure that you connect on a personal level first. Find out if they're okay. If you have something difficult to discuss with people, get on a call. Don't send them a Slack message and tell them that, you know, oh, I can't pay you as much as I was usually paying you or something like that. If that's going to be like a huge thing for them, get on a call and talk to them directly so that you can, you know, have a conversation about it and get their feedback too. Yeah, I think that's everything on my list. So let me know what you think of this. Let me know if you interview your team members, what you found. Is it working? Is it not working? Let me know what other challenges you've had when it comes to finding team members and looking after them, because I really want to go into this into a lot of detail over the next few weeks. So I think next week we might do the exact reasons why I don't interview and the types of conversations that I have with people instead. And then we might go into some more basic things like the following week around, people always ask me, when do I start, you know, looking for my first team member? How on earth do I even start the process? Where do I go and find the actual people? How much should I pay them? How do I work that out? How do I know how much money I can afford to spend on subcontractors in my business? That's particularly crucial if you're running an agency, because profit margins on agencies can be small if you get the pricing and the subcontracting rate wrong. So yeah, that's something I ran foul of, you know, about a year ago, and that still follows me. Like, the consequences of some bad decision making still follow me like a year down the line. So this is something important. So those are the kind of things I'm thinking of covering over the next few weeks, and then I will give you a shout as soon as I have more details on the workshop. I'm thinking it's going to be quite small. I just don't know yet. I think we're going to be working on actually creating your dream team from scratch and putting, you know, the first pieces in place that you're going to need. So it's going to be quite a small group. There's only going to be about 12 people, I figure, because I want to be able to help everyone one-to-one and one-to-two, you know, to get all the pieces that you need to make sure that you can look after your team. But I'll give you a shout as soon as I have more details. I kind of still need to plan out the details in my head a little bit more. Okay, so I'll catch you again next week, probably about 2 o'clock on Friday, back here on my Facebook page. Like I said, any comments, drop them below. I'd love to know if you have any questions that you don't want to ask publicly. Just drop me a message in the inbox, and I'll either reply under the video, or if it warrants its own video, I'll do a separate video for it. And then I'll catch you all next week. Bye.